Hello, my name is Bob Naito, and I'm a recent liver disease survivor. I am married, and my wife will join this video. 2001, I went to see my doctor, and at which time I found out that I have hepatitis B. Although it's a serious illness, I didn't think much of it. I just felt that I could eat healthy and healthy foods and exercise, and it'll probably go away. So I went to see the doctor again, and he had to put me in the hospital for several days. And during so many tests they did, they found out that I not only have hepatitis B, I have diabetes, I had the infection in my blood. So I ended up staying in the hospital for several days. That's when I really took it seriously, because it was a question of whether I would live long or very short. I realized that it was that deadly. One of the evenings that the elders of my church visited me, they asked me what my concern was, and I said, I don't know if I have enough faith. And one of the elders said, faith the size of a mustard seed will move a mountain. That meant a lot for me. So I kept thinking about it, and I thought about it, and I looked for it in the Bible, and sure enough, it was there. And so I from that day forward, I never even thought that I was going to die. I felt that healing was on the way. It was going to take whatever is going to take time, and of course God will dictate that time. The healing was on the way. Starting in mid 2009, that's when the symptoms got worse, to the point where I had to go to emergency for a check, because my abdomen was so bloated to the point where it was constraining my lungs and so forth, that I felt shortness of breath, let alone weakness and dizziness. And so I went to see the doctors, and they said, well, it's something that cannot be corrected other than going through transplant. And I would like to introduce my wife, Julie. I'm glad to say that I'm alive today, because she played a big part of it. The first week of October, I was admitted, and then on the 7th, I was released home. But as I got home, a few hours later, I completely lost my mind, that I was no longer capable of rational thinking.
This was the evening that my husband was discharged from the hospital, and I came home from work. In a few minutes, he woke up, and I noticed that he seemed confused. He was walking around, seemingly not knowing what he was doing. He was grabbing things out of the air, and I knew there was something wrong. And he wasn't cooperating when I was talking to him about needing him going back to the hospital. He became agitated. We had to call 911. They had to restrain him, both arms, because he was trying to get out of bed. He was just really, he was just I can't describe him. It wasn't him, and it was very difficult to see him that way. One of the doctors um, came to me, and she told me that Bob could turn for the worst, um, even with the treatments that they were giving to him. I was frustrated with how Bob was waiting for how long Bob was waiting for the liver transplant. The same doctor called me, and she told me that she is preparing Bob to go to the um, UCSF for the liver transplant, and she asked me if that was what I wanted for Bob, and I told her that yes, it was, and it was the best news that we've heard so far.
On the 12th of October, that's when I woke up in the morning and realized that I was there. And having to realize that I was at the place where they would eventually do the transplant, they were going to present my case to the board, the transplant board at that hospital, for them to decide whether they were going to put me on the transplant list or wait a little longer. And then a few days later, he came back and he said, not only that you're on the list, you're on top of the list. And again, God had moved. Now on October 19th, the top surgeon visited me, and she said, we have a liver available from another hospital, but although you're on top of the list, you might not be able to get it because they have a patient that is in the same condition as you are, and they may choose to use that liver in that patient. I was disappointed when the doctor told me that, and I kept thinking, what's the worth of being on top of the list? But moments later, I felt sad and felt really bad about my selfishness, that although I didn't know the other person, I ended up praying for him or her. Several hours later, the same doctor came back to me and said, you will have the liver, and we will prepare for operation at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that would be October 20th. And so I felt that God saw the condition of my heart. So on the 20th, the transplant took about 8 hours. Thereafter, they transferred me to ICU, where I was only there for a little less than 24 hours. And then I got transferred to a regular ward. 4 days later, 24th, is when I was released from the hospital and came to recover at home. Having gone through all of that, this experience, one thing I know for sure is that faith does move a mountain. He gave me a healthy liver, and He can do that to anybody who has the faith in God.